News. We're there. Just type in Supertalk 99.7 WTN and take us wherever you go. Of course, we have our own app, and that can be found at Supertalk 99.7 WTN. And then there's Supertalk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, up and running as always. Do me a favor when you go over there, if you want to see my locks for Trump, if you want to see what's going on Supertalk TV, if you want to see what's happening with Headless Bell or whatever you're over there for, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, just give a like and a subscribe or a thumbs up or whatever little button there that they tell you to click on. Click on that button. That helps us out a lot. It's episode 702 of our visits here together on Supertalk 99.7 WTN, and it's Locks for Trump Day 269. All right, so there's Bell K behind the glass, making sure that everything that comes out of our speaker sounds as good as possible. I would say hello to Ken Weaver, but he probably has a mouthful of Chex Mix, so I don't want to disturb that.
Woo, boy, I will have a mouthful of it. Mm-hmm. My family will not. Let's keep this on the DL.
Let's not talk about this
They
anymore.
don't deserve the checks.
That's right. Well, I mean, it was Ken Weaver's rooting for the beloved Oklahoma Sooners that got them over the top of the Alabama Crimson Tide, which is why he has a big old
Thank you, Erica.
belly full of
I love you, Erica. Yeah, Thank you very much.
So we've got, lots to get into and lots to do, but I would be remiss if I did not reflect on what happened yesterday real quick at the beginning of the show. By the way, we've got David Kustoff is coming up later on today. Bell, you don't know that because I didn't put it on the calendar, but that's 1:05 this afternoon. David Kustoff, Congressman Kustoff.
Yeah, he's a Memphis area rep.
Over in Germantown.
You've heard the phrase edit and focus, right? You've heard the phrase edit and focus?
Edit
right?
in focus.
Yeah.
Edit in focus or edit and focus?
And focus.
Edit and focus.
So why would you say something redundant like, I didn't put it on the calendar? You wouldn't know about that. I didn't put it on the calendar.
I don't mean to bog down the conversation right now, but I don't think I've ever heard the phrase edit and focus.
Never heard edit and focus?
Ken? Just me?
I haven't heard that.
Oh, well, I mean, Bell, we've not heard that phrase.
Well,
maybe that's why it's not on the calendar.
That very well could be. That or your just obstinate refusal to use it.
Bell has this great system for making sure that we don't overbook guests, and it works until I overbook guests.
Until you overbook guests.
Because I don't use the system. It really is a good system, but it's oftentimes not utilized by me. It is a failure of the host, common to this model. So we do have David Kustoff at 1 o'clock today. And at 2 o'clock today, our good friend Tim Jones from up in Sumner County will join us to tell us what the hell's going on with the Gallatin Christmas trees. Have y'all seen this controversy where there was they did a gay Christmas tree in the library, I think it's the Sumner County Library, and that lasted for like 2 days.
We had same-sex trees in a Hendersonville library.
It was, yeah. I mean, I don't understand.
I've never heard of anything like that.
I don't. Here's the deal. I sincerely mean this when I say this. I love every single one of you, and but I don't care what grown people in the United States of America do in their private life, so long as you are not violating the laws of this land. And really, in a lot of ways, I don't care if you're violating the laws as long as you're not violating the rights of other people, right? The Gallatin. Tim tells me it's the Gallatin Public Library. Thank you, Tim. So I sincerely don't care. I ask this question sincerely, and I know that some that will want to make it something more than it is will try to do that, and that's fine. Why does everything have to be gay? Why does I don't get it.
Yeah.
Because the trees were born that way.
Why does everything have to be? I mean, is everything in your life? I just have a difficult time. I know way too many gay people. I have way too many gay friends.
Yeah.
To believe that these small groups of people are representative of the greater population. I just don't think that everyone goes about their daily life thinking about their own personal sexuality in such a way that they demand that it be forward and shoved down everyone else's throats. I just don't feel that way.
I've got gay friends and family who feel exactly the same way.
I mean, I worked with a gay coworker in Birmingham, Alabama, and I worked with her at a time where she was this is 25 years ago, Ken, And she was she was very private, but not necessarily because she was legit afraid of her career. She was afraid that she might have her career damaged as a result of her sexuality being public. And I'm not saying that should be the way, but everything in our lives does not have to center around individual sexuality. And so I take that with me to the Gallatin Public Library, where as you walk into the Gallatin Public Library, you see some Christmas trees, and one of them was a gay pride Christmas tree. And I'm thinking, I'm just wondering, are there people in the world that demand that their Christmas, which it's my understanding is a celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ and one of the two biggies in the Christian faith, along with Easter, in terms of holiday remembrances, I'm just having a difficult time understanding how someone would live their life and demand that even Christmas be surrounded by and overtaken by their own personal sexuality. I just don't understand it. I don't understand how someone can be consumed that much. By the way, if you're gay, y'all won that battle. Congratulations. Y'all demanded that you be allowed to be proud of your sexuality, that you be allowed to live a life of your choosing in the United States of America, that you be allowed to enter into legally binding contracts with your partners and call that marriage. Good for you. Wonderful. Now, nobody cares anymore. Move along. Except that you demand that everything in our lives become I wouldn't suggest that this is a majority. I wouldn't suggest that it's anywhere near a majority. But you run into I don't care. I legitimately don't care how you live your life. Where you run into trouble, and I'm trying to help you, is when you demand that everything in my life becomes about your sexuality. Whether it is a Christmas parade or a Thanksgiving event or something at the public library or something at my child's school or whatever it might be. No one's coming after y'all. And here's another thing that I don't understand while I'm on the subject. Why is it that the gay community, and I've seen this on social media postings, and I wouldn't even suggest that this is a majority or even a large minority of the gay population in America. What are you so afraid of the Trump administration? After Donald Trump was reelected to become the 47th president of the United States of America, I saw all of these postings online. You know, if you have a gay friend, hold them tight, or if you have a gay friend and they're not afraid for their future, you don't have a gay friend. You have a gay acquaintance. Like, what do you think Donald Trump did nothing to you. Nothing. During his first administration.
Well,
nothing.
And his pick for Treasury Secretary is a gay married man.
Is a gay man. I mean, Donald Trump does not seem to care. Donald Trump has a very libertarian attitude about your sexuality. It is only when it interferes with the function of government. It is only when it interferes with goals that we might have through government, like our military service and the transgender issue, that he takes a stand on these things. I don't understand what the homosexual community or the minority of the homosexual community that's speaking out against Donald Trump. I don't understand what they think's going to happen, and I mean that sincerely. I don't get it.
If you have a gay friend and you don't go visit them in the Trump concentration camps, then it's a gay acquaintance.
Right. Because, obviously those are coming.
But
I mean, I just don't. Why are the gays mad? Are you mad? Are you just big mad just to be mad? I just don't get it. I mean, and there are some times where I would sit here and I pretend not to get it, but I really do get it. I really don't get it. I don't understand what you think he's going to do to you. Gay marriage is settled constitutional structured law, and no one seems to care. Not even my conservative friends. Not even I have a lot of conservative friends that would not, necessarily associate with the homosexual community, and they don't care. So I don't get it. At the same time, you know what I also don't get? Gay Christmas trees. I don't get those. We'll talk to Tim Jones about that in the 2 o'clock hour. That's coming up on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Now, before we get into much of any of that, yesterday, I've done 3 of these now, these radiothons with the Nashville Rescue Mission. And yesterday reminded me of the special nature of the relationship with this audience and our broader community, and truly the fact that I believe that we are all family. Now, that doesn't mean that family agrees all the time. We don't. That doesn't mean that family is of one mindset on any number of issues affecting the United States of America. We're not. I think of us all around that huge proverbial Thanksgiving table where we're talking amongst ourselves and we're agreeing on some things and we're disagreeing on some things. That is all us as a family and as a community. And it does my heart so proud to watch our community come together, business leaders and business owners, community members and community leaders, average Joe citizens and Jane citizens like me, like you, coming together in the spirit of giving and doing it in the right way. I've long said that one of the tragedies of government growth and how government has swarmed and taken over so many aspects of our life is that it is taking over the spirit of community, church, and charity. If you want to look at the way that these things ought to be done, they ought to be done through community, church, and charity. And oftentimes those things overlap. There's no greater overlap and no greater example of community, church, and charity than the Nashville Rescue Mission. They understand that they can feed a person and they can house a person and they can help them get out of the worst point in their lives. And they can do that and hope that that temporary moment in time will lead to greater things. But they also lay a plan of action in front of those individuals. And you don't have to take it if you don't want to take it. But if you do, it's there for you. And that plan of action involves faith and spirituality and the teachings of Christ. And it's through that Christian-based ministry that so many men and so many women have found themselves out of a lifestyle that is so destructive for themselves and their family members and their children and their parents and their brothers and their sisters. We've talked to so many different people over the years. And you might know some people in your own life that have been impacted by the horrors of addiction, by the tragedy that it can lead to. And the Nashville Rescue Mission takes it upon themselves every single day to take those tragedies and turn them into triumph, take those tragedies and turn them into something quite special. I love hearing those stories of redemption. I love hearing those stories of hope and of triumph. And we certainly heard so many of them yesterday. I just cannot thank you enough for your incredible continued generosity. $288,433 was raised yesterday in the spirit of Thanksgiving. And I give thanks to you, to every single one of you. God bless you, and thank you during the holiday season. 21 minutes after the hour on Super Talk. Efficient heating and cooling, friends. Jeff Eddy wants to talk with you about your heater. If it is not working properly, if it is something that you need to deal with, then it's time to get it done because it's about to get cold. Have you seen the forecast, the short range and long range forecast? I mean, let me tell you something. Friends, this thing is about to get cold. It's about to get into the 20s in most of our areas. And if your heater's not working properly, you need to get it ready with Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. Efficient offers financing if you need a new unit, and they have your Ream unit ready to go for you. They're an Elite Pro partner with Ream. They can also help get that system up and running, and if it's able, they will do so with efficiency. That's right there in their name, Efficient Heating and Cooling. They're going to do so quickly as well, and they're going to do so inexpensively. They never charge you overtime rates for nights or weekends. That is a commitment that Jeff Eddy has made for a long, long time. 615-784-4424, 615-784-4424 for Efficient.
Got another crash to contend with. It is I-40 westbound at Spence Lane. The left lane is blocked. Also, Nolensville Pike at Concord Road, then Highway 41A, both north and southbound at Maxey Road in Montgomery. You've got some road work there, and only one lane is open.
Yuck.
Ceasefire seems imminent in the Middle East. I've got that for you at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Ken Weaver. I give thanks for Ken Weaver, Joan Jones, rest of the news team. I give thanks to all of you listening. I give thanks to Bell K, believe it or not, whether he deserves it or not. And I give thanks for Super Talk 99.7 WTN, amongst other things. 1226, thank you for being with us. You're always invited to be a part of the show. You can either hit us up on the Super Text line, 615-737-9986, 615-737-9986. You can also hit us up on the phone lines, always available for you at 615-737-9986. And many of you have commented on my rant about the what was described as the gay Christmas tree. And if you've seen photographs of it, it's running around Facebook. It's down now, it's my understanding. We'll find out definitively from Sumner County Commissioner Tim Jones. It's down now, but I don't know why it was put up to begin with. I don't understand it. Don't understand it. And I don't understand what the concerns are amongst the gay population. Now, 9208 says it's not all gay people, and you are absolutely correct. I mean, it's not even a majority, and you know, perhaps many of you, if you are homosexual, are like, Murphy, I don't even know why you're talking about this. I don't think that way. I know a lot of my friends voted Trump. Those friends, many of them happen to be gay, or some of them happen to be gay. They see beyond this ridiculous emotional nonsense that you see on social media, and maybe I'm being impacted by some of that because I don't think that's reflective of the entire community, but be that as it may, it's baffling to me. I don't understand, and you can't talk to them because they run away from it. You can't have, I mean, I can't have a conversation with one of these folks. Like, I tried to do this. It was a friend from college who posted the thing about, and I've known Jennifer since I was 18 years old. And she posted the thing about if you have a gay friend who is not frightened for their very existence right now based on the election results, you don't have a gay friend, you have a gay acquaintance. And I said, I was like, legit, I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about?
Well, you have to look at all the people that he threw into camps on his first term and the percentage of those that were gay. And I think it'd probably be a little over 100% of them that were thrown in the camps were gay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I guess that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Tim writes in and says, I think it's fine to have a gay Christmas tree as long as we have a heterosexual Christmas tree and, of course, a trans Christmas tree and a pansexual Christmas tree. There should also be a lesbian Christmas tree, which is separate and distinct from the gay Christmas tree, and hopefully far away from the gay Christmas tree because they don't like to hang out together. There should probably also be a furry Christmas tree. That could be like a fur tree. Could be the furry tree.
I sense a pop-up book in this man's future.
I kind of like it.
I do too.
Oh, yeah. With the, and you turn them and
absolutely.
There they are. And for those who have not seen this thing, it's just got the gay pride flag all over it. I mean, it's a tree decorated with gay pride paraphernalia as a Christmas tree. And I just don't understand it. Maybe Tim Jones can help us understand it coming up at 2 o'clock today. Coming up at 1 o'clock today, as I mentioned, Congressman David Kustoff will join us to talk about the rest of the 118th Congress and the beginning of the 119th Congress and what, if anything, they need to do and prioritize to aid Donald J. Trump as he begins the transition. In the meantime, the border issue is front and center of the Trump administration's plans in the transition. Democrat Mayor of Denver, Mike Johnston, has recently said that he would go to jail over his opposition to the Trump administration's border policies. The president-elect, obviously, has taken a hardline approach on border policy with regard to illegals entering this country and has demanded that those who have entered the country, certainly over the last 4 years, illegally return to their countries of origin. The Denver mayor predicted a Tiananmen Square moment if the administration tried to carry out its plans. Well, the president-elect's new border czar, Tom Homan, had a few things to say to Mr. Johnston. We'll tell you what those things are in just a moment. It is 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Secretary of State Antony Blinken speaking on the sidelines of the G7 summit in Italy, expressing confidence in a U.S. brokered ceasefire proposal between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon.
We're tracking this very closely, and I hope and believe that we can get this over the finish line.
Israel's war cabinet expected to vote to approve the deal today. Hezbollah says it also supports the terms, which includes both sides withdrawing fully from southern Lebanon. Mexico President Claudia Sheinbaum threatening retaliation if President-elect Trump follows through on his threat of tariffs on Mexico for border security issues like the flow of fentanyl and illegal immigrants. The Mexican leader says her country's done a lot on both, claiming that migrant caravans no longer reach the border, and if Trump imposes tariffs, Mexico will impose tariffs on U.S. goods, too. Well, the state of Texas is building its own wall along the Mexico border after purchasing a tract of private property. Rio Grande City, Texas Land Commissioner Don Buckingham said the state's moving quickly after purchasing that piece of private property that was a favorite location for traffickers because the previous owner would not allow the state to build a wall, and it blocked authorities from patrolling it.
We are going to build a mile of this wall in the next week, and we're going to be done in the next couple of weeks.
Here in Nashville, law enforcement announcing the plan to crack down on crime and bad behavior behind the wheel this holiday season. Metro Police say they're gearing up for what it calls an enhanced visible presence at shopping hubs starting Friday. They say to expect to see cops patrolling on foot, horseback, in cars, and in the air. Traffic division officers going to be focused on speeders and reckless drivers, anyone not wearing seatbelts or paying attention. MNPD says speed has been a contributing factor in more than a quarter of this year's fatality crashes, which have claimed the lives of 104 people so far. And more than half of fatal crashes, 54, have involved people not buckled up. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey guys, it's Matt Murphy, and I'm talking about the big Black Friday deal days that are going on right now down at the Glock store. They've got the best prices of the year on all of the latest and greatest gear, including an in-store only doorbuster deal. From now until Cyber Monday, while supplies last, get 1,000 rounds of Boro bullets, 9mm ammo. That's an ammo can for only $249.99. What a great gift to slide under the tree for dad or brother or somebody that loves shooting in your life. That is less than 25 cents a round. You can get that in-store only. There's lots of great deals that you can also get online at glockstore.com, including great deals on their incredibly popular tungsten guide rods and the lowest prices in the country on Glock Factory magazines. As Lenny McGill has always said, you can never have too many magazines, and Lenny's right. What a great stocking stuffer for the Glock guy or gal in your life. Here's how to make your shopping easy, right? Go to glockstore.com, pick your deals from the Black Friday category, and then select Pick Up in Store when you check out. That's the easy way to shop and save. That's Glock Store's big Black Friday deal days, minutes away from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere, just off of Elm Hill Pike on Airlane Drive. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the one and only Glock Store. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy. This is the Matt Murphy Radio Show, and the Libertarian Lunch continues. 12:38, almost 12:39. You're invited to participate if you so desire on the Super Text line, 615-737-9986. You can also dial us up, same number, 615-737-9986. You can also hit us up on social media platforms, all over the joint. I encourage you to join me on the X machine, at Matt Murphy Show. That's at Matt Murphy Show. I run a completely different track over there. I absolutely love it. It's a garbage cesspool social media joint full of garbage cesspool people, and I absolutely adore it. So just go over there and you can see what's going on at Matt Murphy Show. You're invited to like, follow, and whatnot. Thank you for doing so. So the Denver mayor is talking tough when it comes to federal law. It's funny to me how, and I don't blame the Democrats. I do not believe that the Democrats care one whit about the rule of law. They care about the rule of the mob. They would prefer for us to be a direct democracy. We are not a direct democracy. A constitutional republic is actually defined as an indirect democracy. It's a form of democracy, but democracy in and of itself is too broad of a term, which is why so many people get itchy when we call ourselves a democracy. It's a democracy in some ways connotates that we believe in the rule of the mob, or we believe in, a vote of the people, majority rules. Well, in the United States of America, majority doesn't rule. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and we create the rule of law, and we abide by the rule of law, and we elect representatives in order to either enforce the rule of law or to legislate laws that we as a society agree to abide by. Democrats seem to love this process so long as they're in control. And they love the process so long as they get to pick and choose that which they enforce and that which they choose not to enforce. The Biden administration has been a lawless administration for the last 4 years. By any measure. Don't just use the brain that God gave you. If you happen to be a liberal or a moderate or a squishy middle of the roader, just use the brain that God gave you and go look. They've ignored the southern border, and they know it. They've actively worked against those states that have tried to enforce it, like Arizona, Texas, and others. They actively work against places like the state of Tennessee that attempt to do everything they can in many ways to demagnetize. It's my understanding there's more legislation coming down the pike in the General Assembly in the next session that would be designed to demagnetize Tennessee and, by extension, the United States of America from foreign individuals that are coming over here the wrong way. I don't have any bit of a problem talking to you about how, in the right way, we change the process by which people get over here. Should we define that we need labor or that we need other individuals to immigrate to the United States of America to benefit this country? Everything should be predicated on the idea of benefiting the United States of America, right? What's wrong with saying that? Answer, absolutely nothing. So it's fascinating to me that the political left claims to believe in the law, and yet they willingly violate either the spirit or the direct letter of the law when it behooves them. And then when people get elected into office because of the incredibly negative ramifications of their defiance of the law or their ignorance of the law, and I'm specifically talking about immigration law right now, when people go to the polls and say, this is enough, this is too much. If y'all had to guess, what would you guess was the number one issue nationwide? On the minds and on the hearts of the American voter. If you don't think immigration was in the top three, I would suggest that you're wrong. Of course it is. Because it brings with it lawlessness. It brings with it crime. It incorporates it brings with it a depression of the United States economy. It incorporates all of those other aspects of our lives in 2024 that we said, you know what, we can do better than this. We were doing better than this pre-COVID. And dare I say we want to make America great again? That ought to be a slogan. So it's fascinating to me, these individuals that claim that they believe in democracy, that claim that they believe in our constitutional republic, that will, yell you down if you somehow question the outcome of the 2020 election cycle, for example. These same people are just outwardly saying, we don't care what the law says, we're just going to defy it. Because we're right, you're wrong. We're better, you're worse. We're good, you're bad. We're, everything and all that, and you're Hitler. I mean, right?
You always say it wrong. It's literally Hitler.
Oh, literally. Yeah, you're literally Hitler. That's true. So Democrat Denver Mayor Mike Johnston said that he was prepared to go to jail over his opposition of the Trump administration's border policies. The president-elect's selection to be the next border czar has now responded. I have the audio. The Denver mayor predicted a Tiananmen Square moment if the administration carries out its plans. Johnston said during a recent interview that he was prepared to protest against anything that he believes is either illegal or immoral or un-American in his city, including the use of military force. When he was asked if he was prepared to go to jail for standing in the way of policies enacted by the administration, yes, I'm not afraid of that. I'm not seeking that. I think the goal is we want to be able to negotiate with reasonable people on how to solve these problems. Negotiate? What the hell are you talking about? This is not a business contract. The United States Supreme Court, much to the chagrin of many of these states like Texas and Arizona that have desperately tried to do things about their border security, they have steadfastly refused to allow it to usurp federal authority in this regard. And they're right. They're right. Sadly, the administration of these immigration policies and laws is the duty of the federal government. And the courts have long stood on that premise. And so when the Obama administration, back during his tenure, was not doing their job, when the Biden administration, when they refused to do their job, and Texas tried to intervene, or Arizona tried to intervene, or other states tried to intervene, they were told no. When it comes to a decision as to how to execute immigration law, the federal government trumps state government. Even if, and sadly this was the case during the Biden administration, it was the case during the Obama administration, even if those organizations led by Biden, led by Alejandro Mayorkas and Homeland Security, even if we know they're not doing their job on purpose, all they have to do is go before a judge or go before a court and say, hey, we're trying, but it's our job, not theirs. Well, now that you have a Trump administration that is dead set on solving this issue, and rightly so, was elected on the premise of solving this issue, suddenly Democrats don't want to solve it. Suddenly Democrats think that they have the ability or the authority locally to tell the federal government what they can and cannot do. That ain't the way it goes, friends. And Tom Homan has a message for Mayor Johnston out in Denver. And it's pretty simple.
But look, me and the Denver mayor, we agree on one thing. He's willing to go to jail. I'm willing to put him in jail. Because there's a statute, it's Title 8 United States Code 1324 III, and what it says is, it's a felony if you knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien from immigration authorities. It's also a felony to impede a federal law enforcement officer. So if we don't want to help, that's fine. He can get the hell out of the way. But we're going to go do the job. President Trump has a mandate for American people. We got to secure this country. We got to save American lives. And I find it shocking that any mayor of a city would say, President Trump's been clear, we want to concentrate on public safety threats and national security threats. I find it hard to believe that any mayor or governor would say they don't want public safety threats removed from their neighborhoods. I mean, I don't know what the hell is going on in Denver, but we're going to go and we're going to fix it.
Tom Homan speaking. He is the incoming border czar in the new Trump administration, and I could not love this man more. I want to hug his neck every time I hear him. Me and the Denver mayor, we agree on one thing. He's willing to go to jail. I'm willing to put him in jail. So we agree on that. And I have the authority to do so. If you knowingly harbor illegal aliens, I have the authority to arrest anyone doing so, and I get to put you in jail. That's the way it goes. Reasonable people understand how this is about to go down. We're going to find the gangbangers. We're going to find the criminal elements. We're going to find those that are attempting to exploit our United States of America. We're going to find those people first. We're going to find those new arrivals. And we're going to say, no, America is full. I don't believe, and many of you aren't going to like what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it because I believe it to be true. I don't believe that we are in a position to take anyone who is here illegally, who's been here for the last 20 years, and uproot that person and attempt to send them back to whatever country they came from. I think the American people recognize that we have a certain level of responsibility in not doing something about this sooner. We tried to during the first Trump administration. And sadly, Joe Biden rolled a lot of that back over the last 4 years. But if you don't have roots, if you just got here, if you are a criminal element, if you're here to take advantage, we are closed for now. What is the problem with suggesting that we're not doing any more immigration right now? No asylum claims, nothing until we get all of this taken care of, all of this handled. Declare the national emergency that it actually is. And I wouldn't be surprised if Donald Trump does that. Tony's in Manchester. Tony, thank you for the call. I'm glad you made it. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I've just got a question, and I've asked several people. First of all and foremost, I voted for Trump all 3 times. So, there you go. The question is, can Trump pardon himself, or does Biden have to do it?
Why would Trump need to pardon himself?
Well, if he's looking at time, I know the judge has stopped all the legal Yahoo stuff the left wing has tried to get done, but if he's actually going to serve time, can he pardon himself?
I don't think. I mean, I understand that it's a constitutional question. The president of the United States has latitude to pardon anyone that he wants to pardon, but I don't think that the president. I don't believe that the Supreme Court would. It's a legitimate debate, but I do not believe that the Supreme Court would argue that a president of the United States would have the ability to pardon himself, certainly in a preemptive fashion. But I don't think that that's going to need to happen either.
Right. Well, I mean, I supported Trump all the way through, and I think he's a businessman that knows how to run the country, and thank God he got in, is all I can say. Appreciate you taking my call.
Yeah, Tony, thank you very much for making the call. I mean, Donald Trump is never going to see a sentencing for the ridiculous 34 quote-unquote felony counts that he was found guilty of in New York. They will never sentence him. And I do believe – I don't know what happens to that legal proceeding, and that would be a question for Jay St. Clair on Friday, which happens on Wednesday this week, because I'm out Thursday and Friday. So you either put all of that on hold, or perhaps while Trump is president, he has broad immunity from any of these types of prosecutions per the United States Supreme Court. What I would suggest might continue is his personal attorneys might continue the appellate process in this to go ahead and get it overturned. Because let me promise you this, when this gets to the appellate courts, it will get overturned. Donald Trump will not have that felony on his record when all is said and done. It's 52 after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
1 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Couple of traffic issues to tell you about. We got a crash on I-40 westbound at Spence Lane, blocking the right shoulder. Now some road work has one lane open only, north and southbound Highway 41A at Maxey Road in Montgomery County. Full forecast in 5 minutes. Ceasefire seems imminent between Israel and the terrorist group running Lebanon, Hezbollah. Both sides agreed to the terms, according to reports. Secretary of State Antony Blinken speaking on the sidelines of the G7 summit in Italy.
By de-escalating tensions in the region, it can also help us to end the conflict in Gaza.
President-elect Trump saying he plans to slap tariffs on the first days in office. Chuck Severson has reaction from a China expert.
China has spent the last several years trying to Trump-proof its economy, reducing its reliance on U.S. trade, says Neil Thomas, a fellow for Chinese politics at the Asia Society Policy Institute. Exports from China to the U.S. fell 20% last year to $427 billion. Thomas says Trump tariff threats in the past have led to diplomatic negotiations, and he expects more of the same.
Trump threatening tariffs on Canada and Mexico, too, if they don't do more to stem the flow of illegal drugs and immigrants over their borders. And the state of Texas building its own wall along the Mexico border after purchasing a tract of private property where the previous owner didn't allow it and blocked patrols.
Behind me stands the first section of the state wall to be constructed on this property.
I'm going to start with about a mile of it. That's Texas Land Commissioner Don Buckingham at a press conference today in Rio Grande City. And here in Nashville, Metro Police announcing plans to beef up patrols around popular shopping hubs to deter crime, including patrols on foot, in cars, on horseback, and in the air. You're going to see those cops on horseback at Opry Mills Mall, along with an additional 18 officers working to keep traffic flowing. Tomorrow expected to be the busiest day on the roads as holiday travelers head to their destinations. Tennessee Highway Patrol out with their reminders there's no reason to rush.
More people on the roadway just makes it harder to maneuver. Stop longer to stop sign, stop longer to red light before you turn right. Pay attention because there's just more cars. Sometimes you misjudge their speed.
That is Colonel Matt Perry speaking to Channel 4. He says if you see someone driving recklessly, you can dial star THP to report what you're seeing. Also, TDOT says it's going to stop construction on the state's interstates and highways for the holiday, freeing up all lanes to travelers. That's tomorrow at noon, runs through Monday, December 2nd. There may be some exceptions, so keep your eyes on the road and your hands on the wheel. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, kids, happy Tuesday. It is 1:05. Good afternoon. Matt Murphy and you until 3 o'clock. We hand off to the drive with Brian Wilson at that time. Glad to have you with us, whatever time you're able to give us. We're certainly appreciative of it. Happy Thanksgiving week. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll do more on that tomorrow. And by the way, just a programming note, tomorrow I am on 3 to 7. Brian off tomorrow. I'm here 3 to 7. Thursday and Friday, best of programming for what it's worth. I don't know that we can find 6 hours of best of, Matt Murphy.
Oh, we got 6 hours of best of, but it's all Friday.
Oh, I like that. Little Friday spectacular for 2 days. I love that.
If you love Friday, then you're going to get 6 hours of it between Thursday and Friday.
Less Murphy, more Jay St. Clair, and everybody loves it. Everybody loves it. I love it.
That's the winning formula right there.
There's no question about that. So that's a little signposting for the rest of the week. We appreciate you being here when you can, and I hope you're able to spend some time with family and friends. A real quick cleanup, and then we'll move on to our next guest, Representative David Kustoff. So, And I did not clean this up at the time, and I thank all of you loyal listeners for reminding me of this. On the Alvin Bragg, on the state case in New York, Donald Trump is not allowed. He couldn't pardon himself on a state matter if he wanted to. I do not believe that he will need to. I do think that his private attorneys will run that track concurrently with his presidency, and that eventually that will be appealed and overturned, and so none of that will be a matter of concern for him after his presidency, one way or the other. There is great debate about whether or not any president of the United States could pardon themselves. There are some suggestions that obviously the Founding Fathers did not intend for that to be the case, although were that the case, one would suggest that they would have put it in the founding document. One way or the other, we can debate the theories of that at a future time. Right now, I want to go to the Murphy Show hotline, where awaits our next guest. He is representative of the Tennessee 8th Congressional District. His name is David Kustoff, and it's always good to catch up with what's going on over there in West Tennessee. Congressman, good afternoon. Hope you're well.
Hey, Matt, thank you very much. Thank you for having me on. I'm really well after the last 3 weeks. It's hard to believe that this election was 3 weeks ago today, and so much has happened between now and then. But really, at least in my district in West Tennessee, people are really hopeful and optimistic about the future of the country.
I feel that way. I feel that in Middle Tennessee. I feel that in the Nashville area. I mean, maybe not everybody over in Memphis, but for the most part, I think people are hopeful from an economic standpoint, from a stability standpoint, border security. And we're going to talk about all of those things. Before I get away from it, I meant to ask you this the last time you were on, David. Is the 8th Congressional District the largest geographical district?
So, actually, I think it is. It makes up
it's big. It's big.
Right, parts of 20 counties. So it's part of Memphis. It's the suburbs of Shelby County, the municipal Germantown, Collierville, Lakeland, and then parts of 19 other counties. So 17 whole counties, parts of 3. Geographically, it is large, but it's a great district. It's a very conservative district. And you think about I know you're a student of politics and history, and I am too. And you think, gosh, 20 years ago, it was a Democrat district primarily. Mm-hmm. A lot of rural Democrats who become Republicans and become very solid conservatives who care about their country, but ideologically they've changed a lot over the last 15 and 20 years, and it's probably, I don't know that it's the most Republican district in the state, but it may be the most conservative district in the state if you can make that distinction.
Well, David, I don't know. I don't know if your past reflects this as well. But when I was growing up, my grandfather. I never loved a human being more than I love my grandpa, but he always called himself a Democrat because he said, well, I'm not a Republican because I'm not rich, because he was from that, that Roosevelt era. We've completely flipped now. I mean, it's hard to see this as it happens, but the Republican Party, conservatives now represent the average Joe worker. Conservatives represent that Walmart voter. We've seen it happen over my life doing what I do, and I'm certain that you've seen it happen in your district too.
I absolutely have, and I think that's a really good point. We have become the Republican Party, the party of the worker, of the working man, and the working woman. And the great thing about it is, you look at what the Republican Party believes, and in my opinion, I've been a Republican all my life, we haven't sacrificed our principles or our ideals to attract those people. In large part, you look at the leadership of the Republican Party over the last X number of years, and that's Donald Trump, and we've to whatever extent have taken on who he is and his identity and what he believes. But you also think about before he came on the scene, how people in this country viewed China, and now how they view China, and he's adapted to that. So I do think if these people who you talk about, like your grandfather and others who may have passed on, if they could come back today, they would probably identify, my guess, as Republicans and not Democrats because of where the parties are ideologically and principally today.
Well, it's no question that there's been such a sea change as we've seen it happen before our very eyes, certainly since Trump came down the escalator. I want to ask you, any number of things in the aftermath of the election. I mean, you mentioned that you and I, David, have not had a chance to speak since this overwhelming victory on the part of Donald Trump and Republicans all across the country. I think part of it is due to our desire to see America in a stable position, involved in less entanglements around the globe. However, our commitment to Israel continues, and there's just news coming across the wire, and I'm curious your thoughts about it, that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he's planning to present to his cabinet a framework for a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah. I feel good about it. If Benjamin Netanyahu is presenting it, I feel good that this is a positive development. Obviously, it's just Hezbollah, not Hamas. What, and you and I have talked about it in the past, what do you consider America's involvement outside of our obvious alliance and friendship with Israel? Is it just a matter of support and offering, some material support in terms of weaponry from the United States of America to assist them in completing that mission that was sadly started by the enemy on October 7th, 2023?
Well, I think you can even take it up several levels higher. I mean, we all recognize that Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. They are our only ally, and there are people who feel ideologically, for a lot of different reasons, religious reasons, that we need to support Israel. But I think we also need to realize from our own security standpoint that if there were no Israel, what the consequences would be for the United States. I listened when Prime Minister Netanyahu came to Washington and gave that joint address to Congress in July. We've all heard Netanyahu. He's a masterful speaker, a great orator, but he had a line, Matt, in the speech, and it was something to the effect of the enemies of Israel are the enemies of the United States. Now, he said it in a different way and a little bit more succinctly, but that's what he was saying. And so, it's certainly in our interest to make sure, for a lot of different reasons, that Israel has the resources that Israel needs to be able to defend herself. And you look at a map of Israel, and you just see Israel surrounded not only by her enemies, but by a number of enemies of the United States.
We're talking with Congressman David Kustoff about a number of issues, to include the latest developments outside of our country in Israel. Let's talk about right here at home. I mean, obviously, I feel like immigration was the number one issue on balance across the country, because I think immigration and the economy are quite interrelated. I think immigration and crime are somewhat interrelated. Obviously, the president-elect, I should say, is preparing a robust turnaround of the Biden policies with regard to asylum claims and the porous, open nature of the southern border. What can Congress do to assist President-elect Trump? And what, if anything, can you do before he's elected? I don't expect that you'll get a lot through the United States Senate. And at the same time, what can we in Tennessee do to better enforce our immigration law, David?
Yeah, so let's first talk about beforehand, because I want to rewind the clock about a year and a half. We in the House of Representatives, with a thin Republican majority, but still a Republican majority, looked at this issue, which has plagued the country for some time, but really obviously got a whole heck of a lot worse when Biden took office because of the initiatives he set forth, the executive orders, and we all saw the migration numbers, the illegal migrants rather, come through. Now almost over 8 million encounters in these last 3 years. We worked on a bill in the House of Representatives last year called the Secure the Border Act to counteract what Biden had set in motion. And the bill number was H.R. 2, which tells you something about the significance of the bill. It would have forced the Biden administration to restart construction of the border wall, deploy technology not only, Matt, to the southern border but also to the northern border, to increase the number of border control agents and increase their pay, to end the practice of catch and release. And it did a number of other things. It passed the House. I think if Schumer had put that bill on the floor in the Senate, it would have passed. But he didn't. And so I think a number of those initiatives, especially as it relates to the border wall and technology and increasing the financial resources for President Trump so that he can hire more border patrol agents and to increase their pay, that we have to start right there.
And I mean, obviously the question then becomes about the concept of deportation. There's a lot of our liberal friends who are gnashing their teeth, wringing their hands about the concepts of quote-unquote mass deportation. I clap back against the phrase because I don't believe you're not deporting. You might deport multiple people at one time, but you're deporting them individually for acts against the law. So you're not doing this quote unquote in mass like the liberals want to suggest. But I feel like the president-elect and some of the people that he's selected to be on his team have said it quite well, Congressman, that we're going to go after the real criminal elements, the gang members, people that are coming to do direct harm to the American people. Those people are going to be targeted first for deportation, and then those that have not taken up roots. I just don't believe, and I get hit on this by my audience, some of the hardliners in the audience, but I say, I don't believe that, people that have taken up roots 20, 30 years in the United States of America will find a different way to get them above board. But those that have been here 4 or less years, it seems like this president is determined to make it less than a desirable time to stay.
Well, not only, Matt, have you heard President Trump say that, you've also heard Tom Homan say that, who's the borders are. You're looking at the deportation of criminals who are here, those who are known criminals, and those are the first priority. And we need to do that, number one, because we need to do it. We've all seen these issues in cities across the country, including in Tennessee, but also to send the message to those who are thinking about coming across the border illegally, unlawfully, that there's a right way to come into this country, and we want that. We want people to come through the right way, through the right means. But if you're planning to sneak across the border unlawfully, that you're going to be sent back home. And so that does send the message. They're looking immediately on day one, January 20th, at deporting the worst of the worst and those who are known criminals.
Well, and some of the stories that you're seeing on the southern border right now, you just got to shut those stories down. I mean, unaccompanied minors, and I'm talking 10, 20, 30 at a time with just 1 or 2 adults with them. I mean, these are the stories that the mainstream media simply will not cover, that need to be covered and need to be stopped in a Trump administration.
Well, yeah, and, we've heard all types of stories. I've been to the border under President Trump. I've been under President Biden. And the cartels work, what you're describing in some respect, is activity of the cartels. And the fact that when they send underage people, especially women, across the border, there's a price tag, okay? And So those people and those families don't have the money to pay the cartel. So that means they've either have to engage in human trafficking or in drug trafficking. And the leverage that the cartels have is they can tell those people, you've got to produce. You've got either through trafficking or through drugs, and if you don't, we know where your family is in Central America or South America. And I know that sounds like a movie or a TV show, but it is absolutely real. And so when you think about that, and you think about the drugs and the fentanyl that have been brought across the southern border into our communities, into my congressional district in West Tennessee, when I have sheriffs and police chiefs tell me that the drugs in our communities in Tennessee are brought across through the southern border, it's real. And the way to stop it is by stopping it. It's by making sure that we increase patrols. It's by continuing the construction of the border wall. I've been to parts of the southern border where you can walk along the wall and the wall just stops. So you don't have to worry about climbing over the wall or trying to cut through the wall. You just walk around the wall.
Right.
And so we need to. And I'll tell you one more thing. There was a place in New Mexico where I was walking along the wall, one of those places where the wall just stopped, and the wall is these steel beams that are about 20 feet high in the air. There were the steel beams not in the ground, but they were laying on the ground. And when I asked one of the border supervisors what I was looking at, she told me it was the wall, the materials for the wall, but the order to stop construction started or was given when President Biden took office. So it really burns me up when I look at the materials for the wall that I voted on, your taxpayer money, and everybody listening, and it's just sitting out there.
Well, and they sold a bunch of it all. They sold a bunch of it all. I mean, they sold it off for pennies on the dollar, sadly. So we gotta reconstitute that, get it back going again. Real quick, in the minute or two that we have left with Congressman David Kustoff, I mean, I'm excited about where the economy is going in 2025. I'm excited about getting our inflationary rates down. I could not be more excited, and I'm curious your thoughts about the Department of Government Efficiency. I know some want to suggest that this isn't a real thing. I hope it's a real thing, because I think we could cut 20% of government spending out of the federal budget off the top, and no American would notice it. What are your thoughts, David?
I think having Elon Musk, who's one of the great visionaries, not only of our time, but in our nation's history, and Vivek Ramaswamy heading that, I've seen Elon Musk in my area. He's got a project of XAI in the Memphis area, started in the last, 6 months or so, and it's amazing what he's been able to do and cut through so much red tape. These two men are really, really smart. They're going to be thinking outside the box, and I think that's exactly what the people were demanding when they went to go vote 3 weeks ago today.
Congressman, I'm sad to leave it there, but we'll do it again very soon. Always good to catch up with you guys over a little bit to the west of us in the 8th Congressional District. Anything we can do for you, let us know.
Thank you, Matt. Have a great Thanksgiving holiday to you and all the listeners.
Have a wonderful holiday, David. Thank you so much. There's Representative David Kustoff joining us from the 8th Congressional District for a few good moments, 24 after the hour on Super Talk.
Checking traffic, looks like we still have only one lane for Highway 41A, both north and southbound in Montgomery County. This is going to be right there at Maxey Road due to road work. Ceasefire imminent in the Middle East. Canada's Prime Minister responds to tariffs threat, and Metro Police announce beefed-up holiday patrols, all coming up at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Sounds like a very exciting newscast at 1:30 this afternoon on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Can't wait for that. It was exciting yesterday. $288,433 raised yesterday in 14 hours. I don't know. I was educated publicly in the state of Georgia in Thomson, Georgia, Thomson, no P in Thompson. But that's $14,000. That's like $14,000 an hour.
Wow,
that's pretty darn good.
Well, the lion's share of that was raised during the noon to 3. So.
That is a fact, my friend. That is a fact. Now, there were many business donations. There were many individual donations. So many of you gave of your hearts, and God bless each and every one of you. We so appreciate you. Coming up in about 30 minutes from now, we'll talk about the Gallatin Public Library Christmas tree controversy with Tim Jones, who is a Sumner County commissioner. We'll do that right after 2:05. By the way, this got away from me, and while we have a minute or two, Chuck Woolery died.
Yes, he did.
And I don't know that I've gotten a chance to talk about. I mean, Chuck Woolery had more of an impact on my childhood than I even remembered.
I forgot that he actually started the Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, he was the first host of the Wheel of Fortune.
I thought that was always Pat Sajak.
Yeah, he left and went to do other things, and Pat Sajak came on board. I don't know the nature. Maybe they fired him. I don't know. But
I don't know.
He was fired.
Everybody remembers Pat Sajak. He went on to host Scrabble. Y'all remember Scrabble?
Scrabble.
I loved Scrabble.
Love Connection. That's when you found out you just needed money to get a date.
That's exactly 2 and 2. We'll be, and that's when he perfected the old "We'll be back in 2 and 2."
That's right. He did that.
He sure did.
That's right.
Loved me some Chuck Woolery, but the memory that I have of Chuck Woolery is we were home because of an ice storm. I was 12 years old. This was in 1986. So I guess, no, I was 12 years old. January of 1986. I think it was January 28th, if I'm not mistaken, 1986. The reason I remember that date is because it was the date that the Challenger space shuttle exploded 93 some odd seconds after takeoff. And I was watching Chuck Woolery. We were supposed to watch this takeoff because Krista McAuliffe was on this deal.
Yes, sir.
We were supposed to watch that in school.
I was in school.
You were in school watching?
I was in it, watching it.
Oh, my goodness gracious. I can't imagine that. With everybody like, what just happened? Well, something bad just happened.
Yes, sir.
But I remember Chuck Woolery was doing the Scrabble, and I was enjoying it, sitting on the couch at my grandma's house. And then Dan Rather on CBS News interrupted Chuck Woolery, and I was very angry at Dan Rather because I was doing good in the Scrabble. But he interrupted with the announcement that the Challenger had exploded. Chuck Woolery dead at the age of 83, and a fine conservative voice in our United States of America. R.I.P. Chuck. Here's the news. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 5 minutes. Right now in the Middle East, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressing his nation today, announcing he was sending his cabinet for approval a U.S. brokered ceasefire deal with Hezbollah in Lebanon. Tom Sufi Burridge with more.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says that Israel can now focus on the threat of Iran. Of course, Hezbollah is an Iranian proxy, but he says that Hezbollah in his address has effectively been greatly diminished over the last few months of fighting.
Canada Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he had a phone call with President-elect Trump just about 2 hours after Trump threatened tariffs if Canada doesn't do more about the flow of drugs and illegal immigrants over the border.
It was a good call. This is something that we can do, laying out the facts, moving forward in constructive ways. This is a relationship that we know takes a certain amount of working on, and that's what we'll do.
Right now in Nashville, Metro Police announcing beefed up presence on foot, in cars, on horseback, in the air to deter criminals this holiday season. Starting Friday at Tanger Outlets in South Nashville, there will be officers on bicycles, too. They're going to help detectives from the Organized Retail Crimes Unit to combat shoplifting. Helicopter crews will immediately radio anything concerning to ground units. Tanger will also be providing its personnel to manage traffic. One more reminder, police say to park smart, lock your doors, secure any valuables, especially guns. And it's one of the busiest travel days of the year so far. So good for air travel. Here's Alex Stone.
It's really quite smooth for flying today. Just 58 canceled flights in the entire country. That's super low for a major travel day. Alaska Airlines has the most canceled flights among the big carriers, and it has only 10 flights that have been canceled, mainly on the West Coast where there is a rainstorm. Denver is the airport with the most issues, but it has only 6 canceled flights.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for U.S. Pest. My man, J.K., and his lovely bride, Erica, want you to get pest protection in your home. They're great Americans. They fly the old American flag over each one of their billboards. If you see them around town, you'll see those American flags flying. I mean, they believe in this country and what it was founded on, and they believe that pests, I'm talking about roaches, I'm talking about stink bugs, ants, I'm talking silverfish, all of those things, and mice and other rodents, those are communists. Yeah, they are. You know why? Because they want to glom onto what you have and steal from it. They want to take your food, and they want to take your warmth, they want to take your shelter, and they want to use it for their own purposes. And with them, they bring insect, I should say, and rodent-borne diseases. You don't need any of this in your life. You need U.S. Pest in your life. By the way, J.K. reminds you that you don't need to stop your pest service. Some people do this, and it's a bad idea because you have to crank it back up in the spring, and you have to get it going again. You need to maintain pest service on a monthly basis over the winter months because they do protect those basements, those crawl spaces, those wall spaces where bugs will gather to get that warmth. Termite and full-service pest control available, crawl space service available. Give them a call at 590-1260, 590-1260, or online at the one and only uspest.com. Supertalk 99.7 WTN, thankful for you, thankful for the entire listening audience, whether you're conservative, libertarian, even you liberals out there in the listening audience, we appreciate you as well. It's the Matt Murphy Show until 3 o'clock this afternoon. We continue with live and local coverage with Brian Wilson and The Drive from 3 until 7. Programming note, I'm on The Drive tomorrow from 3 until 7. All of us are off Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, and Friday, which is a company holiday. A lot of you are off that day, too. Just indulge us those 2 days, will you? And we'll get it cranked back up coming up next week. So lots to get into locally, and we'll do so in just a moment with Tim Jones, who is a Sumner County Commissioner, to give us an update on I wasn't aware of this when it first started. Apparently, it started and ended rather quickly. We'll get the lowdown from Tim Jones coming up in about 25 minutes. Gallatin and the Christmas tree in the Gallatin Public Library is the subject there. We were talking with Congressman David Kustoff about immigration policy and the fight that Donald Trump has engaged in, even as president-elect, to try to get some semblance of reasonable responsibility with our southern border. President Trump has been 100% clear that we want to concentrate on public safety threat, that we want to concentrate on national security threat. And as Homan put it, I find it hard to believe that any governor would say they don't want public safety threats removed from our neighborhoods. In Texas, we are seeing an incredible amount of young people. And I'm talking about young people as little as 2 years old, crossing the southern border without anybody with them. With fellow underage minors coming across to act as quote-unquote guides. Lieutenant Governor, I should say, Dan Patrick from the state of Texas speaks on this and speaks directly to those little girls, one of which, a 2-year-old girl, and the hundreds of thousands of missing children. These are stories that no one in the mainstream media seems to want to touch. Why? Think about this for a moment. These same media organizations that claim that, they have you in mind, that they care about you. They want to suggest that they care about the millions of women who are losing their reproductive rights, which is not true. The millions of Americans that are somehow losing their rights under a Trump presidency. These same media organizations refuse to touch a story involving as many as 300,000 missing children. Now, these are minors that came into the country, either accompanied by people that we cannot confirm were their legal guardians or unaccompanied by anyone. And they were eventually filtered out into either legitimate foster care or illegitimate foster care or given to this family or that family. And they've disappeared into the fabric of the United States of America. We know that human smuggling is a reality. We know that child smuggling is a reality when it comes to our southern border. Yet the mainstream media won't touch it. It ought to piss you off. It certainly does me. Dan Patrick has a different take. Lieutenant Governor Patrick from Texas.
Million illegals here that Biden and Kamala Harris led in the country that has cost our American taxpayers and Texas taxpayers. In terms of that little girl bill, look, we have seen this. This is a sin. I mean, I'm going to just say it's a biblical sin, in my view, of what what Biden and Kamala Harris did. They let children in here. When President Trump was in office, we took the DNA to try to match with the parents. We also looked at the adult and the child. Was the child hesitant? Did they look like they were hugging them? Did they look like they were in fear? We tried under President Trump to protect these children, and we did to the best of our ability. And what did Biden do? He got rid of the DNA testing. He told the Border Patrol, just let them through. So today as we speak, Bill, there are hundreds of thousands, nearly 300,000, that we don't know where they are because Biden and Kamala Harris didn't care, and they're either being enslaved in some type of work in a sweatshop. They're being sex trafficked, boys and girls, 7, 8, 10 times a day. This is a horrendous torture to these children, 300,000 children, and the blood and the sin is on the hands of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden.
And I think Dan Patrick is exactly right. A lot to unpack in that minute or so of commentary. So our good friends, he says with tongue firmly in cheek, on the left, would say, Murphy, it's not 300,000. Some of these youngsters are in legitimate foster care situations. Okay, then how many are there? I thought one child was one child too many. You know, during the Trump administration, when Donald Trump continued the separation of children and these adults that were bringing them across the southern border until such time that we could ascertain if they were legitimately their parents or not, you had these performance artists like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez heading down to the southern border. And, you know, she was in all white. She had her head in her hands and she was crying over and we eventually discovered that she's nowhere near any of these children. She's nowhere near any of these illegal aliens that are coming across the southern border. It was all performative for the cameras. It's amazing to me how interested the mainstream media is in this story when it benefits their narrative, and how disinterested they become when it doesn't. When we saw a flood at Eagle Pass, Texas, in Del Rio, Texas, when we saw a flood of illegal alien activity, what was the Biden administration's response to it? Because Fox News and some other media organizations were actually covering that story when Joe Biden became president in 2021. They were actually covering it with drone footage. They were showing the tens of thousands of illegal aliens flooding the zone on the southern border, and how most of them were, relatively speaking, military-age males. And there were females among them. There were children among them, but a lot of military-age males. And the Joe Biden response was not to shut the southern border down, was not to do more to get more individuals from Immigration and Customs Enforcement or Border Patrol on the southern border. Their response was to shut down the optics of the situation. In other words, to stop the drones from being able to fly over to show the American people what was actually going on. That's been their modus operandi since they came into the White House. We want the flood of illegal alien activity for their own political purposes, but we just don't want people to know about it, and we want to pretend like it's not really going on. In the meantime, they actively fought against the various states that attempted to actually do something about it, primarily the state of Texas. I think Arizona did. Remember when Arizona did the container wall and they shut the container wall down? They used the courts to shut the states down. Now, in a very real way, it is up to the federal government to determine how we're going to protect our southern border. But when it is decided that the federal government has not done its job, intentionally not done its job, then the state of Texas felt compelled to do something about it through razor wire, through border security of a variety of types, through these different mechanisms that they used at the Rio Grande. And the Biden administration spent a tremendous amount of time, energy, and money attempting to shut Texas down, instead of focusing their energy on assisting Texas as best they could to stop these illegal crossings. And then there comes the children. So we're told, let me use the abortion example. We're told that because Roe v. Wade was overturned and because Dobbs v. Jackson returned this issue to the states, and because now the states, as they have the right or have always had the right to do, they get to determine their own policy when it comes to these types of issues, per the 10th Amendment of the Constitution. We were told that this was going to lead to death. The liberals told us that, right? And they never really could find a situation that really fit the bill, but they tried. They found one in Georgia that they made up largely. They found another one in Texas that they billed as examples of human beings dying. And those of us looking around the country waiting for some of these examples to come through the filter of liberal media were like, wait a minute, out of the millions and millions and millions of women in the United States of America, you can't come up with more examples than that. And these examples, you have to kind of fit a square peg into a round hole to give us this example of how, the awful abortion law in Georgia or the awful abortion law in Texas these laws are leading to these deaths. And we were told, well, if one woman dies, that's one woman too many. If one woman dies, that's one too many. Okay. Can we not apply the same logic to children crossing our southern border? We believe that some 300,000 are now unaccounted for in the United States of America. And I have no idea where those children are, nor do you. Are you not curious to find out? Are you not curious to dissect how many are actually in good foster care? How many are not? How many might be sex trafficked? How many might be child trafficked? How many might be working in sweatshops? How many might be dead? Hashtag never CNN. Doesn't occur to you to investigate this story? ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, Washington Post, New York Times. Doesn't occur to you to use some of your resources to research this story? Well, of course they won't research it because it doesn't fit the narrative. And they don't. If there's anything you know about this show, know this. And if there's anything you learn from this show, learn this. These babbling talking heads on the mainstream media that claim to care about you, they don't give one damn about you. They don't care about you. They don't care about your family. They care that you think right. They care that you get a little bit smarter and a little less racist and think like them. That's what they're invested in. They're not invested in you. They don't care about you. They don't care about your safety. They don't care about crime in your community. They don't care about the scourge of violence that comes with the illegal alien populations in the United States of America. They don't care about the economy. They don't care about inflation. They don't care about these things. They claim to, but they don't. If they did, why would their curiosity not extend to these children? Why does their curiosity not extend to Gold Star mothers? As another example. No matter how much you hate the mainstream media, you cannot hate them enough. They truly are the enemy of the people. Donald Trump said it, and Donald Trump was right. Again, it's 51 after the hour on Super Talk. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy. And, I was tired of living in pain. I was in pain when I first came to Nashville, Tennessee, and I knew I needed to get out of it. I knew that I wouldn't be able to live my life the way that I wanted to if I continued the back pain that I had. So I asked around, and eventually I called the Dr. Gill Center. The Dr. Gill Center soon became a sponsor of my radio show, and I'm so proud to talk about them because of what they do. What would you do if your pain was gone? Imagine the freedom and the possibility. Imagine... and you can make it a reality by calling the Dr. Gill Center. They have helped thousands of people just like you get a pain-free life rolling. Thank you to the Dr. Gill Center. Take it from me, I don't just talk about them. As I mentioned, I am a patient. You don't have to settle for a clinic that doesn't care about you or tries to cookie-cutter their approach to you. Choose a plan that works and choose a place that listens. The Dr. Gill Center certainly does. They have spinal decompression technology, red light therapy, the Class 5 laser system, all ready and available for you at the Dr. Gill Center. So make the call and make the appointment that so many others have made. Let's get pain-free over the holidays. 615-882-4838, 615-882-4838, or callmepainfree.com. Once again, callmepainfree.com.
Ceasefire imminent, and the incoming border czar. Hear his stark message to any mayor or governor he says tries to block mass deportation of illegal immigrants. That's coming up at 2 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Looking forward to that. Ken Weaver, he's back in the News Closet B to be precise. Belkay's behind the glass, making sure that everything that comes out of our speakers sounds as good as possible. My name's Matt Murphy. I'm here for another hour or so. Mr. Jimmy's right here. Mr. Jimmy.
Yes.
How's it going?
Getting older by the minute.
By the minute, sir.
Younger by the day.
Hey, Mr. Jimmy, I'm sorry to do it. The music just popped on in the background. Let me put you on hold here. I didn't look at the clock before I clicked over on you. I just hate for Mr. Jimmy to have to hold because I've got a guest coming up at 2:05. Just pick up on Mr. Jimmy and let him know, Bell. Thanks. It is 2 o'clock, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. One more hour to go. We've got lots to get into, to include this Christmas tree. I think that's what Mr. Jimmy wanted to talk about, gay Christmas. That's what it says on my screen anyway. I don't know what that means. We're going to find out together. Another hour to go on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 2 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Right now in the Middle East, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressing his nation to say he's bringing a U.S. brokered ceasefire deal between Israel and Hezbollah to his security cabinet for approval. It calls for a gradual withdrawal of Israeli troops from southern Lebanon. Hezbollah also is expected to fall back from the area. Meanwhile, as the peace process moves forward, the fighting continues in Lebanon. Here's Tom Sufi Burridge.
The IDF, in one of its statements, as it's launched a massive barrage in the final hours of fighting, potentially before this ceasefire takes place against Hezbollah, in one of its operations, it says it's actually been operating right close to the Litani River, and that is very, very significant. It's the furthest north in the past few months that the Israeli forces, as far as we know, have been operating on the ground in southern Lebanon.
Yeah, the man who will lead President-elect Trump's border security efforts made a visit to the Texas border region today, delivered a stark message to any mayor or governor who tries to stop plans to mass deport illegal immigrants.
This is a felony to knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien from immigration authorities. Don't test us.
Border czar Tom Homan with Governor Greg Abbott there at his side. Speaking to the Texas National Guard, who've been deployed through Operation Lone Star, says, we're not waiting until January. We're already talking. We're already planning, and we'll secure this nation at the highest levels ever seen. Here in Nashville, Metro Police say they're beefing up to deter criminals and fatal crashes during the holiday shopping season. Going to mean more police officers on the ground, on foot, in cars, on bicycles, on horseback, patrolling the major shopping hubs. They'll be in the air, too. Helicopters going to radio to the ground cops when they see suspicious activity. And the world's oldest man has died. Here's Chuck Severson.
John Tenniswood attributed his longevity to pure luck. When interviewed in April by Guinness World Records, he was 112. Died in a care home in northwest England near Liverpool, says his family. A great-grandfather. Tenniswood cited moderation.
You should always try and keep on moving about.
In civilian life, an accountant, he handled financial matters while serving in the British Army Pay Corps in World War II. On his birthday in August, Tenniswood said he didn't feel 112.
That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Flying by, the time is on this Tuesday edition of the Matt Murphy Radio Show. Thank you for being with us, November 26th. Good afternoon. Hope you're doing well. It's our episode 702. Thank you so much to those of you who reached into your wallets, into your hearts, and gave as you could for yesterday's Nashville Rescue Mission. We've been talking about it all afternoon long, all day long, really, starting with Dan Mandis in the morning, moving through Chris Hand over the course of the morning time hours, and then to our show. And into Brian Wilson starting at 3 o'clock this afternoon. $288,433 of giving in 14 hours yesterday. That translates to about 101,204 meals. If you calculate the math, a meal cost roughly $2.85, and it really is a point of entry. It's an entryway into changing lives, changing hearts, and getting people on a better path and a better life. And we thank the Nashville Rescue Mission for allowing us to be a part of all of that, and we thank you for being a part of it yesterday as well. We'll get back to some other matters to include. Hey, Weaver, I'm going to talk about this in the right after the 2:30. Have you seen this video of the I guess it's a California student. Cal and Stanford were playing a game, and at the end of the game, fans rushed the field. It was their 131st meeting together in their rivalry game, and the California Golden Bears got their 24-21 victory. Have you seen the video of the equipment manager tackling the kid that tried to steal the helmet?
No.
Oh, my gosh. We're going to do that a little bit later on. That's fun.
Was his name Boucher?
It looked like it was Bobby Boucher. Little water boy action. You got to see it. It is absolutely awesome. In terms of entertainment value, it was better. It was a hell of a lot better than the game. Let me tell you something. Cal beat Stanford, and this kid just destroyed. The kid stormed the field, and this one guy comes up. You can see him try to grab. You have to watch it a couple times to understand what's going on. But one kid tried to grab a helmet off the sidelines and run off with it to steal a helmet, and the equipment manager kid was having none of it.
No, sir.
And laid him out. That's a future linebacker right there for the Cal Golden Bears. We'll discuss. I'll post that up on the Matt Murphy Show Twitter handle coming up in just a couple of minutes. Tim Jones is coming up right now. He is a Sumner County commissioner, and I knew who to go to get the lowdown on what was going on in Gallatin. I heard this story a couple of days ago, and apparently it's come to a good resolution. But Tim joins us on the Murphy Show hotline to discuss how all of this came to be and what we know about it right now. Tim, good afternoon. Welcome in, sir.
How are you doing, Matt? Can you
I'm
hear
well.
me okay?
I can hear you great. You doing all right up there?
Yeah, doing good. You say it came to a good resolution. That's in the eye of the beholder, I guess.
Well, I don't mean maybe you know things that I don't know, perhaps. So
we're getting emails, complaints, but it's overwhelmingly positive that they're thankful we got rid of the tree. And honestly, the commission didn't get rid of the tree. The commission played no role in it at all. I just know the people who did.
Okay, so just for those unfamiliar with the story, and I'll be honest with you, Tim, I became familiar with it. I mean, we were focused on the rescue mission yesterday, so I really wasn't aware of the story until early this morning. But apparently something went down at the Gallatin Public Library where they decided to put up what could only be described as a gay pride Christmas tree. Just walk me through how all of this came to be.
Okay, so on November 2nd, a tree was decorated with gay pride paraphernalia, and it displayed all the flags all over it, all the trans flags, every flag associated with the gay pride was displayed all over this tree. And apparently there was some signage that was also on it that was removed pretty quickly after, so I don't know what that said, but that was the first thing taken out. So that was November 2nd. On November 4th, an email was written by the library director asking what to do with regards to this tree, because I'll explain that in a minute with how the trees came to be. And then on November 19th, the tree was removed.
Mm-hmm.
William Lamberth, our state rep, called Sumner County Mayor John Isbell, and within an hour it was gone. So thankful to him and for Mayor Isbell for getting involved, because the community was just outraged. We were getting just slammed with phone calls and emails people just out of their minds that this religious holiday, and some people don't want to call it religious. They just, Christmas, making it non-religious, but this holiday was being hijacked for a political cause. So the way the sponsorship of a tree happens is there's a group called Friends of the Library, and they raise money for the libraries because donations can't be given to the library because of rules and regulations. They all have to go to the county general fund if a donation comes in. And so if you want to donate specifically to a library, they've created these Friends of Libraries. It sounds like a good thing, but liberals have hijacked the Friends of the Library group, overwhelmingly liberal organization. So they pick and choose what things they can give money towards with the libraries when directors request, is my understanding of it, which kind of gives them too much power, and it goes along with the ALA, American Library Association, being a non-governmental organization that has a lot of power over our libraries as well. They just gain too much power, and the people have no voice in that unless they want to join one of these organizations, try to work from within. So they put out a fundraiser to sponsor Christmas trees. And there's like 20-something trees in this library. And there was a contract that said that you cannot be part of a religious or political organization displayed on this tree. It's like candidates and things like that. Ironically, because Christians believe that Christmas is a religious holiday. So this group came in that was called Nashville in Harmony, and the subgroup of them, Major Minors, is a youth chorus, and a parent of this group, actually, it wasn't the group themselves. They didn't sponsor the tree. A parent whose child participates with this youth choir came in and sponsored this tree. For $100 they could decorate a tree.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you look into and vet Nashville in Harmony, it is a group of, it's like very strongly affiliated with LGBTQ and
like a gay pride group or whatnot.
They are, and they target children. They're this choir, this Major Minors youth choir is for ages 12 to 18, and this is all found on their website. By the way, I'm not making things up. I just looked them up myself. And the artistic director of the choir group is a homosexual. He works at the bio says he works in the intersection of religious leadership and political activism. He's an ordained minister, but he's also the chairman of the Faith Caucus, which is an interfaith group dedicated to social, economic, and environmental justice. And he's also that Faith Caucus is part of the Democratic Party in Tennessee. So it's clearly a political organization that this lady, this parent of this child, has decided to decorate this tree on behalf of.
Mm-hmm.
So because of all of that, that was the rules that they used to get rid of the tree, but it was clearly going against community standards because so many people were upset about it. I mean, the state was getting calls about it. That's why our state rep got involved. The city was getting calls about it. The county was getting calls and emails about it. And the library board was getting calls and emails about it. I mean, 100 to 1, people did not want this tree in there. Now, of course, we've had people come say they want it put back up, threatening protests and stuff like that. I don't see that that's going to happen because
you mentioned this, Tim, and we're joined by Tim Jones, the Sumner County Commissioner, good friend of the show, to try to help us understand what was going on. I mean, so this was a program that people could sponsor the decoration of trees at the library, and there were, just some basic rules of the road. For example, and I'm going to use an example that will probably annoy people, but I'm going to use it as an extreme example to illustrate the point. I would imagine that if someone came along and said, I want to do a Trump tree, the rules would say, well, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to keep politics out of what we're trying to do at the library. Is that fair?
Exactly.
Right. So, I mean, while most of the people in Sumner County are supporters of Donald Trump, and where most people would be completely fine with a Trump tree, I don't think that a Trump tree would be permissible based on the rules. You don't want, I mean, you're trying to stay away from that kind of thing. This seems to me to be a clear violation of the rules of the game, right?
It was clearly a violation of just plain, simple rules. But on top of that, you're creating something that's on purposely divisive in the middle of a season where you're trying to bury that kind of rhetoric and feelings, and everybody kind of come together and enjoy family. And even if you're not religious, just enjoy family and friends and talking and celebrating, but here they are celebrating a highly sexualized tree while everyone else is trying to celebrate the virgin birth of our Savior Jesus Christ. Right. It's a contradiction. That's what made everybody mad. There's probably more churches in Sumner County than most counties, in the Middle Tennessee area. So
here's where here's where I come from, Tim. I mean, I come at it this way, that you know what, I might not want to go to the gay pride parade wherever it might be in Nashville, for example, or I might not participate in a gay pride, event. But I also recognize it's free country, and if you want to organize that and promote it, and that's all well and good. But this is not that. For some reason, they want to divide a community as opposed to bring a community together. And for that standard alone, I mean, forget the issues that I know we can't forget these issues, but I mean, for that reason alone, I'm happy that you guys saw fit, not the county commission necessarily, but the powers that be saw fit to shut this down, because it was obviously meant not to bring the community together. It was meant to divide the community.
Correct. And at the very worst, it was what you're describing, somebody with an agenda trying to cause division. At the very least, the most innocent form of that would be they're putting something in there that is a safe place for kids, and they're normalizing a culture that most people in that county would disagree with, and that's shown by election results. We have pretty much a conservative base in Sumner County, probably 65% at least conservative in Sumner County. And people don't want their kids exposed to that, and they don't want to answer questions from their kids about what are all these different flags mean, and they want to legitimize something that most people don't agree with.
Well, it feels like that reasonable approach only goes one way nowadays. I mean, I'll give you an example. I mean, I was at an event recently. It was a Friendsgiving type thing, and I knew that there were people of all political stripes in the room. Well, I'm not going to bust up in the room, start talking about how happy I am. I mean, I kind of wanted to talk about Trump and how awesome it was that he won re-election and all of these things. But I'm not there to cause trouble. I'm not there to cause division. I'm not there to cause anger or frustration. I mean, most people live their lives that way, that they're going to be kind to other people, even if they think they're wrong in their political views, even if they think they're wrong in their lifestyle choices, whatever. But it's sad to see such a minority of communities, even in Sumner County and other places, that they draw attention to themselves, and maybe we're feeding into that to a certain degree. I don't know, but they try to take away from the spirit of the Christmas holiday by doing something like this. It was frustrating to say the least, and I'm glad that you guys up there in Sumner County shut it down.
There's a time or place, right?
That's right.
There's a time and place for
and
everything.
It's not in the public library where a lot of our young kids are going.
That's correct. So you really need to look into the influence of what the American Library Association, the influence they have over our libraries, a non-government but very political organization that has a lot of power, and they control a lot of money with these Friends of Library groups that can affect our libraries in many ways. And I would say one thing to all the people that are like-minded with us, I know you're not conservative, but sometimes you have conservative views.
Oh, sure.
But or even libertarian, get involved in your libraries, because right now the left has a stranglehold on them. They frequent the libraries more often than the conservatives do, or it seems that way because conservatives don't speak up. But let your librarian know how you feel and visit the libraries.
Tim, great stuff. Thank you for filling us in with exactly what went down. But there are still plenty of beautiful trees up at the Gallatin Public Library, it's my understanding, right?
Oh gosh, yes. There's 20 of them. So at least 20 of them.
And
so
these are gorgeous, non-political, non-statement based Christmas trees.
Well, I heard one of them is some has something to do with witchcraft, so we'll have to look into that one too.
Well, I mean that wouldn't fit in that category. Look into that
we'll
one. Let us know.
Into that, but for the most part, you're right.
Tim, thank you for filling us in, man. You know we appreciate everything you do up there in Sumner County. We'll talk again soon.
Hey, you guys at Super Talk, have a happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving, okay?
Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, Tim Jones. We appreciate you up in Sumner County. We'll be back in a moment. We'll talk with Mr. Jimmy, who I don't know what Mr. Jimmy wants to talk about, but I'm amused. Every time I look up at line 1, it says Gay Christmas. So Mr. Jimmy will tell us a story.
Wants to talk to you about Gay Christmas.
Mr. Jimmy will tell us a story about Gay Christmas coming up next on Super Talk. Around this holiday season, we give thanks to so many wonderful organizations that we do business with, that we take part in, and one of those organizations is Men of Valor. Men of Valor does the hard work in our prison systems to try to turn lives around. It's one thing to offer punishment for crimes committed, and obviously we believe in punishment if you violate the law and violate the rights of other people. At the same time, did you know that 90% of the men who are currently in the prison system will get out at some time? What type of men do you want coming out? Do you want men that will commit again? Recidivism rates are over 50% within 3 years. Sadly, over 50% of the men that get out of prison will return within 3 years. Unless we step in, Men of Valor is that organization. They need volunteers in the prison systems and at their campus for aftercare reentry. I visited that campus recently, and I'll be there December 3rd broadcasting live to focus on Men of Valor and their efforts over the holidays and all the year long. Go to movministry.com for more information, will you? movministry.com, and become a partner, become a volunteer with Men of Valor.
Mideast ceasefire imminent, and a stark message to mayors and governors who try to block mass deportation of illegal immigrants. Beefed up Metro Police presence for the holidays, coming up at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Ken Weaver. Also coming up, have you ever been into anybody been into a Lululemon? For a long time, I thought Lululemon was like a type of girly drink. But I was informed that that's actually a limoncello. So I don't know a lot about Lululemon, but I don't know how you steal $500,000 of clothing before you get caught. I'm going to tell you that story coming up after the bottom of the hour news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Lululemon is the name. I mean, do we have surely we have a Lululemon around here.
How you spell it? L-U or L-O-U?
Oh, Ken Weaver, it is spelled.
Maybe it's L-O-O.
It is Lululemon.
Goodness.
Lululemon.
Lululemon, yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Lululemon. This couple suspected of stealing $1 million of Lululemon clothing.
Well, the photo I'm looking at, now I realize why men don't wear tights.
Yeah,
I cannot believe they actually sell this.
I would.
Goodness.
I think I just realized what I'm getting Weaver for
Goodness
Christmas.
gracious.
For Chris.
Only $69, too.
Oh, $69 for me to look like that. Let me get to
now
Mr.
you're making me have to look this up.
Lululemon, Bell.
It's right. It's just the fourth item over.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, are they showing a frontal shot?
Yes, sir.
Oh, Lord. Hey, Mr. Jimmy, I'm sorry you had to wait so long, but I had to get that interview in there. How are you, sir?
Well, getting older by a minute.
I bet you are. Now, Mr. Jimmy, it says here that you have a story about gay Christmas.
Well, I don't have a story. I got a lot of questions.
Okay.
About a Pride Christmas. I don't understand why. What's the meaning of a Pride Christmas tree, and what are they thinking about celebrating a Pride Christmas? Why aren't they working if they don't believe in it?
Well, it baffles me the manner in which the secular society that we have become is attempting to take over Christmas for their own purposes. And I understand that you can secularize Christmas to a certain degree, and people that don't really believe have done so. But I don't understand politicizing it like this. I mean, they're trying to make it all about gay pride. It doesn't have anything to do with gay pride, Mr. Jimmy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It don't, because I was raised as a Catholic. I went to Catholic schools. I belonged to the CYO. I was a fourth-degree Knights of Columbus, so in Memphis. So I believe in Christmas. The word itself means Christ Mass.
Well, that's right, Mr. Jimmy. You got your head on straight, Mr. Jimmy. Some of these folks nowadays, they just don't have it screwed on right. That's the bottom line.
Maybe that's what it is.
I guess so. Well, listen, if I don't talk to you before, have a wonderful Thanksgiving, Mr. Jimmy, and give us a call. If we don't talk tomorrow, give us a call after the holiday, and we'll look forward to talking to you then. I got to scoot to the news on Super Talk.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. And right now in the Middle East, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressing his nation, saying he is bringing a U.S.-brokered ceasefire deal between Israel and Hezbollah to his security cabinet for approval. The proposal calls for a gradual withdrawal of IDF troops from southern Lebanon. Hezbollah also expected to fall back from the area. Incoming U.S. border czar Tom Homan went to Texas to speak on security issues today and address the Texas National Guard. He had a message to any mayor or governor he says tries to block the Trump administration's mass deportation of illegal immigrant efforts.
For any mayor or governor who's going to push back on removing public safety threats from your community, that is your number one responsibility. You ought to be teaming up with us.
Holman, with Governor Greg Abbott at his side, speaking to the Texas National Guard, who have been deployed through Operation Lone Star. Metro Police say they are planning for what they call an enhanced visible presence at shopping hubs starting on Friday. They say that includes officers in cars, on bikes, on foot, on horseback, and in the air, with helicopter officers watching from above, radioing suspicious activity to officers on the ground. The areas of focus include Opryland, Tanger Outlets, and Green Hills. The goal is to prevent traffic fatalities, too. MNPD says speed has been a contributing factor in more than 1/4 of this year's fatality crashes, which have claimed the lives of 104 persons so far in 2024. And so far this year, more than half of those fatal crashes, 54, have involved people not buckled up. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy and you until 3. We'll hand off to Brian Wilson at that time. Thank you once again. Cannot thank you enough for everything that you did yesterday to make the Nashville Rescue Mission Radiothon such a success. $288,433 raised. That's 101,204 meals. We have never before busted through 100,000 meals. It is the most money that Super Talk has raised during our radiothon, and it's not me, it's not Wilson, it's not Chris, it's not Dan. I mean, we're just a small part of what you did. That's all of you, and we thank all of you so much for everything that you did yesterday. 615-737-9986 is the telephone number, 615-737-WWTN. So here it is, Lululemon. A Connecticut couple has been charged in Minnesota with being part of a shoplifting ring, easy for me to say, suspected of stealing $1 million in goods across the country from the upscale athletic wear retailer Lululemon, which I'm now told several of you, and I'm a little bit concerned that these are all men. Every single person that responded to me to tell me where the Lululemon store was are men, I think, as far as I can tell. And all of you are telling me that several of you have told me that there's one in Brentwood, and I was also told that there's one in the Gulch. I have no idea. Jaden Anthony Richards, 44, and Aquel Great Googly Moogly Richards, both of Danbury, Connecticut, were charged this month with one felony count of organized retail theft. Both went free last week after posting bail bonds of $100,000 and $30,000, respectively. According to criminal complaints, a Lululemon, I don't know, maybe it's because of the name of the organization, the name of the business that I like doing this story. I mean, do it amongst yourselves. Is it not fun to say Lululemon? Yeah. It's also a little bit of a tongue twister. A Lululemon investigator had been tracking the pair even before police first confronted them November 14th at a store in suburban Roseville, Minnesota. The investigator told police the couple were responsible for hundreds of thousands of dollars in losses across the country. So they were on a cross-country Lululemon stealing spree. They would steal items. So what they would do, this is very interesting. You ever worked in retail, Bell? Or Ken Weaver? Have y'all ever worked in retail?
Nope.
I have worked in retail. I worked at once. I worked at a clothing store in Bristol, Connecticut, just outside of Bristol, Connecticut. Oh, what was that? Oh, it's going to bother me if I can't remember the name of the store. I'll get it in a second. It was like an anchor store at one of these mall places, but it was a northern store. Golly, what was the name? You know what? The memory's the second thing to go, everybody.
Yes, sir.
You know what the first one is, Ken?
No.
I can't remember. So, Gilbert's? No, I don't know what it was. Anyway, I sold suits over there. But people, the little security tags, there's the ink tags, and then there's another type of security tag. And these tags have to be taken off with specific devices that we have in the store. And most of the devices at the time, I remember, are mounted in the kiosks of the store. And there's always a person that's posted at that kiosk. So in order to get out of the store without the beep going off, or in order to get off the tag, the ink type of tags, if you try to take it off without the appropriate device, it just spills ink all over the item. Well, apparently these people had found themselves or bought themselves or stolen one of these security removers so that they could remove the security tags off of the items. And after doing so, they would then take the Lululemon clothing back to another Lululemon store and get a refund. And that's how they made all of their money. Police apparently found suitcases containing more than $50,000 worth of Lululemon clothing, which, according to some of the research that I've done, that's like 10 items of clothing. That's how expensive this stuff is. That's insane. Lululemon clothing is insane. What are you women buying? According to the investigator, they were suspected in thefts from Lululemon stores in Colorado, Utah, New York, and Connecticut. In Minnesota, they were also accused of thefts in stores in Minneapolis and suburbs of Woodbury and Minnetonka. Who knew? The investigator said the two were a part of a group that would usually travel to a city. They would hit Lululemon stores for 2 days, return to the East Coast, and then exchange the items without receipts for the new items, take the new items with the return receipts for credit card refunds, and then head back out to commit more theft. So it was like a three-pronged approach. What they would do, according to the story, long story short, they would go into these Lululemon stores, and there were 3 of them. And one person would distract the customer service rep, the person that's trying to help them. They would take items and they would hold up the items, like so that they couldn't see what was going on behind them. And while they did that, the other 2 people would take off the security tags and stuff crap into their bags and then run out with them. You know, if people...
This all sounds like too much work.
That's what I was about to say. If these people would just spend this amount of effort in actually working for a living, they wouldn't be going to jail right now. But they are.
Oh, they were working. They just weren't doing it legit.
I don't get it.
How much effort do you have to put into something to consider it worthwhile to do it that way?
Now, these folks apparently stole up to $1 million worth of... What I don't understand is maybe it was just they got their pattern down and they felt like they had a good pattern going. Why only Lululemon stores? I don't really quite understand. But in the midst of doing this story, it occurs to me that we've just given Ken Weaver some good ideas for Christmas gifts.
All I know is, do you think you, among all your friends and family, do you think you know any of them of the male persuasion out there that would wear tights out in public like that?
Well,
like what happens if all of a sudden you go to a Walmart where a lot of tights are worn, and you see something like that? Hey, are there men who are buying this?
Apparently so. Matter of fact, I just got a text message. 0272 says, contrary to popular belief, Ken Weaver, I'm adding the Ken Weaver.
Yeah.
Contrary to popular belief, Lululemon has great men's clothing.
Well, I'm sure they do, but I don't know about those tights, man.
I don't know. I'll tell you what. The 3 of us, you, me, Bell, we go in together. We all toss in a couple bucks, and let's buy Amanda some tights and see if he... That'd be worth it just for the reaction, right? Dan, we can't wait to see you in them tights.
Man. And then it would never happen.
Oh, come on. He'd wear them once for us.
I wouldn't. No, we wouldn't.
You don't think you don't think you'd slip them on for Amy?
No.
You know?
I think if Amy told him to, he would do it in the house, but you're not going to get him outside.
Get out of the hot tub, dry off, slip on a pair of Lululemons.
I mean, they might sell well down in Dallas because there's a lot of silver ones.
Lululemon specific theft ring going on in the upper Northwest in the United States. This is Joe Biden's America. Speaking of Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris is telling her aides to keep her political options open as she weighs whether or not to make another White House run for 2028. May I be the first to say, please? I would love that. Can we have more of that, please? I mean, I'm all in. Now, she's also...
my options open.
What do you mean? Your options open? What, like your calendar's full, lady? Right now? You got a lot on the December calendar, do you? I mean, right now you're taking a little time off in Hawaii. Not that you were... Who's president right now?
Dude.
I mean, I know there's no answer to the question asked. I wonder who is running the show.
She got her ass whipped like a heavy metal fan at a Grateful Dead concert, and it still just doesn't register with her.
I don't understand what she doesn't understand about we don't want any. Thank you very much. But apparently she doesn't get it. She said that she's considering running in 2028 or she's considering possibly running for governor of California in 2026.
Now, I could see that.
Now, I could see that one. Yeah, I mean, that's right on time for the state of California. The vice president said she's expected to, she's going to deliberate over her political prospects over the next few weeks. What? Like, this woman
She'll
just
be sitting in a chair with a steaming hot cup of coffee looking out at the morning sun.
and contemplating.
Just
contemplating. You know, the sun's rising over whatever bay she's on in Hawaii. I mean, I can only imagine that campaign money is paying for this lovely Hawaii trip that she's just taken. She's watching the sun slowly rise as she sips on her coffee and Kahlua or whatever alcoholic beverage she surely has in that mug of hers. And
well,
she's
she won Hawaii, so she had to go and thank the staff.
Oh, sure. I mean, why not? I mean, maybe she's at Barack's place. He's still got a joint out there, doesn't he?
Guest room, you think?
I mean, he's got to keep up, the illusion that he was actually born there. That's a joke.
Wow.
That's a callback.
Wow.
That's from way back. That's a Trump callback from like 2015, 2014. Anyway, so look, Kamala, I would personally, as a matter of fact, if she's willing to announce that she's running for president in 2028 and follows through with it, I'll offer her a campaign donation. I will. I would love to see, because Kamala is the most unlikable, eminently beatable candidate, perhaps in my lifetime.
And the good news is you can do that donation on the cheap, because I saw a video where Barack said it only took $5 to make a difference.
Are they still underwater by $20 million?
Yes.
She blew through. I mean, my word. I mean, a couple of cocaine addicts in Las Vegas at a hooker convention. She blew through money.
Mike Tyson got paid $20 million to lose. She went in debt $20 million to lose.
$1.2 billion in 107 days. That's a lot of money. I mean, anybody ever see the movie Brewster's Millions? That's Kamala Harris running a presidential campaign. If you've never seen Brewster's Millions,
trying to blow through everything before the deadline.
Yeah, I mean, he had to. Richard Pryor, great movie. Richard Pryor, John Candy's in it, where Richard Pryor realizes he has a grandfather that, well, there's a great line. What? You didn't know your grandpa was a honky? That's what he says. So Richard Pryor's granddad was like a gajillionaire, and he was his last surviving heir. And so he died, and he wanted him to inherit $300 million. But he said, I don't want you blowing through this money. I want you to save this money. You need to learn what it is to have money. And so the test was he had to spend $30 million without having anything to show for it in 30 days. Nothing to show for it. Couldn't buy any material good, any material item. He had to just blow his money. It's a great movie because he said, if you do that, you're going to be so sick of spending money, having $300 million won't ruin you. And
wasn't he short at the end by like 80 cents or something? And
yeah, because the guy screwed him. The guy screwed him over, and eventually they made it right or whatever. But I know it's great. No, Kamala Harris was blowing that level of money. So if she wants to run for 2028, I'm here for the ball game. I'm here for the ball club, and I would give to that campaign. I would give a campaign contribution to Kamala Harris right now if she assured me she was running in 2028, because that assures me that we will have President J.D. Vance in 2029. It is 2:52 on Super Talk. Going to wind it down for me. Brian Wilson is on the way with a bit of a preview of what's to come on the drive. Brian Wilson joins us. Brian, thank you so much for yesterday. What a great event it was. Oh, man, oh, man. That's right. It's pretty cool. I mean, they're so good and they're so wonderful. And, yes, so many people called and said, we want to give and we want to offer $50 or $100 or $500 and throw Brian Wilson's name on there for what he's done over the last 6+ years. Obviously the last 6+ years here in Nashville, but even beyond that, your entire broadcasting career. Folks are thinking about you. And the days are tick-tock. I mean, the holidays are here, and before you know it, it'll be December 21st. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves, though. What's coming up today, Brian? All right, there comes Brian Wilson with The Drive. That's up next until 7 o'clock, where he'll hand off to Mark Levin. Hope you enjoy that. We'll be back tomorrow. I'll be in place for Mr. Wilson tomorrow from 3 until 7 on The Drive. Until then, friends, have a wonderful afternoon. Hug your loved ones. Happy Thanksgiving week. We'll talk to you tomorrow. So long, everybody.